Mick McQuillan here. So I've got a special guest. We've got Rodger Hill coming on. Now, Rodger Hill is the CEO of a company called MoreMito.com. Now, Rodger's background is formerly of NASA and, of course, the Pentagon. But he left those companies and he started his own company, in 2011 called MoreMito. Teamed up with a young research scientist called Dr. Bevan Elliott. You'll get to learn about him at a later date. And, of course, Dale Bonet, who's pretty much the logistics guy, kind of sorts everything out. You'll get to hear about him and meet him, I'm certain of it. But I want to bring Rodger up so he can get some questions answered in relation to some of the things that I'm hoping to try and achieve and that we're going to try and achieve together. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited by it, and I'm excited to ask Rodger to join. So, Rodger, welcome. Great to see you.
Good to be with you, Mick.
Amazing. So I was saying that, obviously you were with NASA, you were with the Pentagon. You've probably got NDAs in filing cabinets, so you can't talk about any of that. I would love to. Maybe we can do that behind the scenes some other time. But listen, you started this company, MoreMito, back in 2011. I'm kind of interested to know how that all began.
It was 2021 that we started.
2021.
But Bevan and I, it began with Bevan and I starting to work together in a prior project in 2015. Summer 2015, and he and I started talking about mitochondria at that point, and that's what kind of our relationship evolved from there because we had a mutual interest in health.
Brilliant. Now look, I'm not going to keep you long because I understand that your time is valuable. Obviously, you're coming to us from the United States, so it's the middle of your daytime there, probably one of the most busiest times. Let me just ask you this question first, actually, because I want to kind of set the scene for everybody. So, what is MoreMito's approach to health and wellness?
Okay. The MoreMito approach to health and wellness is using mitochondria as a basis for restoring health. So let me define mitochondria for everybody who's not familiar with that. Mitochondria is a tiny organelle within cells that produces energy, right? And everybody starts out with a lot of them when you're young. You're running, you're jumping, you got all this energy, you barely know what to do with it. But as we leave, our youth, our young adulthood, and so forth, we start to lose them to the extent that by the time we're about 60, you'll be down to about 50%, about half of what you had when you were younger. And by the time you're 80 or 90, you'll be down to about 5 or 10%. So what coincides with that loss of mitochondria is your body is not working as well. You start to lose function, particularly in your major organs. For example, most people after a point, you're not seeing as well, If you didn't wear glasses earlier, maybe you wear glasses later, or if you wore glasses earlier, you got to have a stronger prescription. Your eyes are getting poorer and poorer, okay? The other thing is that's common is you're not as strong. You don't have the strength and stamina that you used to. Probably somewhere in your mid to late 40s, most of us figure out we're not spring chickens anymore, right? That's because we've lost enough mitochondria that's the case. Now, the other thing that's very common is your brain. Like after a point, we tend to not be remembering things as well. You're just not as sharp, okay, as we get older, right? And certainly you don't want to have a bad disease or encounter or have an accident or something, because as everyone knows, your immune system isn't as effective as you get into your later years, right? And your body system, think about those: blood pressure, blood sugar, your weight. All those things tend to become more difficult to manage as you get older and older, right? So Bevan and I started this conversation about mitochondria and what would happen if we could regrow the mitochondria. And he had a way of doing that. And so we started working as early as 2015, and by 2021, we had matured our process to the point that he had developed a second generation of what he calls XDS technology. That stands for Exponential Delivery System. And what it does is it reorganizes the ingredients of these particular things that he likes to use in his formulations. And the point of the formulation is this: he's made a breakthrough. He's decoded those signals that your body sends to your cells to tell the mitochondria to grow. Those are ones that have waned over time. And he's come up with analogs for them. Analog means something that works the same or similar, right? And he's sending these signals via these natural substances to your mitochondria, telling them to grow. Now, That's only part of it, because even though these signals do work, they don't work very well. So that's why he had to create this XDX technology to make them far more powerful in your body. So they don't just get in the bloodstream or get in the cell. They got to get all the way into your mitochondria. And by the way, the mitochondria are thousands of times smaller than your cells are, right? And you'll have more or less mitochondria in a particular place in your body, depending on what that organ, that function is. Like the highest concentration are in all your major organs, your liver, your kidney, and so forth. But the highest, there would be in your heart, your brain, and in your eyes.
Fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating. Clearly, you've kind of explained how effective, it can be, or how effective the mitochondrial approach can be to wellness. I've seen it myself with my own pets. I've experienced it myself, with my knees and things like this, and it's just been fascinating. Even with my eyes, like I used to get a, 2.0 strength, and only recently I've had to go down to 1.5 strength. So it kind of is working for me, like it's working for, my pets, and I'm excited by that. But can you give other examples of maybe how this has worked on other people?
Sure. So a lot of people, as you age, you have, again, different conditions that you're more prone to because you don't have the immune system strength that they had when you were earlier. Things start to get off, your cellular replication, all of that. And sometimes you can have multiple failures at the same time. I'll give you one good example. So we had this young man, he is former military here in the U.S. He had heart failure 18 and a half years before he meets us. And he's been on medication that long. And he's supposed to be on it for the rest of his life. And his life is not supposed to be as long as anyone else's because he got heart failure, And by the way they measure that, a normal heart should, every time it beats, should pump out between 50 and 70% of the blood. His was down to 44. He was in heart failure. Okay. And then 2 months before he met us, he finds out he's got prostate cancer. Okay. So here he is, failing heart, prostate cancer, meets us, starts to use our technology. And he said, I'm going to take your product, but after 3 months, I'm going to go back and have them run all these tests again and see how I'm doing. Now, he has some indications like you did that things were happening positively in his body, but the proof he needed came from the doctors. So they remeasured his heart. His heart function had gone from 44 to 64, right? His heart was high normal. His heart was healthier than most people who never had a heart problem. Then he goes to the cancer doctor, took the screen, the test, put it up on the same screens he had before. They can't find the cancer, right? So what happened in both of these cases? Did we cure heart failure? No. Did we cure cancer? No. What did we do? What we did was regrow the mitochondria, so everything that the body does with respect to its immune system, with respect to its metabolism, being able to repair and restore, all those processes got upregulated. See, Mick, it turns out, as amazing as we think our bodies are, they're even more amazing than we knew, right? If we just add back that energy that we've lost as we age. And we've had many other examples of that as well.
Amazing. I have heard some of the stories and the examples, and they are incredible. And my own experiences with my own dog, it happened so quickly. The real reason why I wanted to speak to you, Rodger, is because, there's different things happening in the world, right? And one of those things was what's going on in Africa at the moment. And I was speaking with a friend of mine, and she was telling me about some of the things that were going on. And she explained that, there's been a lot of cuts to South Africa's funding based on recent decisions that have been made. And this has affected a lot of, people with HIV. Approximately 40 funded projects have been shut down. There's clinic closures. There's a reduction in testing and treatment. There's job losses. And of course, what you're left with is the most vulnerable people in society are being left without care and essential care. And of course, there's bigger issues, and that's the need for, the local communities and wider communities to take back control of their own health and outcomes instead of, relying on, maybe unstable outside funding, which can be just pulled, at any moment. How can MoreMito and how can this approach affect maybe, African nations, especially around the HIV specifically, but with overall general health? How can MoreMito as a company help?
Right. So So let me talk a bit more about our formulations, then we'll go into the more specifics of how it has already helped people in similar situations. So we've taken this technology and put it in 3 of our products. Let me describe them. The first one is called Restore, and I'm looking for a Restore bottle here. First one's called Restore. It's an oil that's based on olive oil. It's olive oil, very high quality olive oil. We source it internationally. Same thing about black seed oil. Now, those are 2 superfoods. They've been used for thousands of years. And in Bevan's research, he found that they have constituents in there that are really powerful, anti-pathogenic, anti-cancer, just really great stuff for your body. There's a total of 44 ingredients in there altogether. Okay, that's what this looks like.
Yeah.
All right. And this is called Restore. What Restore is designed to do is cellular repair and organ regeneration. And it starts that process by having a set of ingredients that, again, speak to the mitochondria, tell them to grow. And there's other sets of ingredients in there that address every organ system. Okay? That's why we needed as many as 44. And then there's this other one called Brain and Body. Renew Brain and Body. Oh, yeah, you have it there on the screen. Renew Brain and Body. You see that on the left, I guess.
That's the MoreMito and the Rejuvenate. I'm just going to have a look. Products, people health products.
Yeah, you see it on the left side of my hand. Okay.
Yes.
You got this one. So the body part of Renew Brain and Body is that there's a different set of ingredients or ingredients that have been extracted differently than, yes, there you have it, than in Restore. So we're coming at the mitochondrial restoration process from different angles, right?
Yes.
And then there's a specific set of ingredients there that are for your brain, okay?
Wow.
And then there's this topical gel. I'll just hold it up to the camera so you can see that, or you can find it right PDF.
You can show it there.
Okay, I'll show it again. You have this topical gel. Now the topical gel, initially Bevan said nobody had ever killed a sunburn. He wanted to do it. And not only does it affect everything that has to do with your hair, your scalp, or your skin, literally face to feet, any place on your body, it penetrates all the way to the bone. So people who have issues of discomfort or mobility in their joints, it's a real godsend for. And also you can take some of the Restore, maybe a teaspoon, 4 milliliters, and you can put it into the Rejuvenate and shake it up and then apply it. And so now basically you have the Restore hitching a ride on the Rejuvenate, which is designed to be transdermal, as in carry nutrition through the skin. Okay. So now with these 3, when we market them in bundles, and you save, money when you buy a bundle, because we want people to have all these different ways to affect the mitochondria and then provision your body with all these wonderful nutritional resources that a body can use to repair and restore itself. Okay, so let's start with that. Now let's talk about how it affects your overall health in general and your immune system in particular, which is pertinent to anyone concerned about a bad disease, as is the case in Africa right now. Your body has in it natural defenses that have kept us alive. They're going after pathogens, cancers, and infectious diseases like HIV. And there's a particular kind of immune system cell called NKs that stands for natural killers. And if you ever saw that movie, The Terminator, that's what they are. They hunt 24/7 for, again, pathogens, bad viruses, molds, etc., cancers. They attach themselves to the offending cell. They fire a toxin into that cell or that microorganism to kill it. Okay, that's why they're called natural killers. Now, even in Africa, there are some people who have, everywhere actually, there are a few people who have such immunity that AIDS can't kill them. Okay, but the virus is still in their body. Now, what this does apparently is it increases the effectiveness of all these immune system cells because they have mitochondria too. And what they have to do is a very energetic process, pursuing these pathogens, attacking them, making these toxins, and then reloading and doing the same thing over and over again. All right. Now, we learned how effectively we were doing when we had people come to us who had HIV. I got one young lady in particular. She came to us. She lived in New England and she moved further south, and she was out of her HIV medication for 3 weeks. So what she did during that time is that she double dosed Restore and while taking our other products as well. And so she's taking 2 teaspoons a day of this. And she goes into a doctor when she finally gets the appointment to have them prescribe her HIV medication. And the doctor said, well, why are you asking me for HIV medication? According to the test I just gave you, you don't have HIV. I said, no, I've had this for like 17 years. I've been on medication. And he wouldn't agree to prescribe anything for her until he looked at the medical records to see, in fact, that was the case. Now, what was he looking at that made him conclude that she didn't even have AIDS? It was at the CD4 test that he had just run, okay? A healthy person should have a CD4 count somewhere between just under 500 and about 1,200, somewhere in that range. Now, maybe 1,700, actually, somewhere between about 500 to 1,700. That's where you should be. And a person, in her case, on medication, she had never gotten to, say, 400. She was like 364, if I remember the number correctly, in the test he had just taken, that had just been taken prior to, her running out of her medication. But the test he just ran, she was at 1,000. She had a healthier CD4 count than a lot of people who have never had AIDS. So her immune system had basically turned the tables on the AIDS virus. Instead of them being hunted by the AIDS virus, it was hunting the AIDS virus and apparently eradicated him to the point that her CD4 count had soared higher than it had ever been, to the point it was indistinguishable looking at the test from someone who was perfectly healthy and never had AIDS. Okay, so that was our first instance of that. Then so we started having other people identify themselves to us as having on that. We followed their results and we saw the same pattern. We found one gentleman who had actually been on that technology longer than she had. She was at 1,000. I think he was like 1,400 or 1,500. And we've also had one person in there who had never gotten under 300. So they went to like 500, right at the normal range. So that's what we're seeing, that it is really possible, based on what we discovered, we didn't know this until people called it to our attention, that this approach of restoring mitochondria is so profoundly effective that your body can now fight things that you didn't think it could, and be successful at it, apparently.
Incredible. Rodger, that's fantastic, isn't it? That's just, like those results are just, they're mind-blowing. The difference that can make in somebody's life, in their whole well-being, it changes them from the inside out, because they must be feeling so much better about themselves, like it's just incredible, fantastic, but look, obviously there's a real opportunity here for people to be able to get involved on the ground, but what assistance can MoreMito help with the model, provide, and introducing its technology into African health leaders and organizations and people on the ground? How can MoreMito help in that process?
Okay, so let me add one thing to what I was saying before, and then I'll get into that part of the answer. Our hope was that we could create something that would help people physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay, and by the time we got through writing down all this stuff that we wanted, we realized that this was something that didn't exist. Okay, and that we were going to, if we were in fact successful, we had a real learning curve ahead of us. And that's what happened. It wasn't just what happened to your immune system. It was us discovering, for example, that people who were born with cerebral palsy, for example, never expected to develop, never expected to walk, they responded. They started growing and evolving. One young man never had walked in his life is now running. We had children that came to us who who are autistic. Okay, again, never expected to develop. One child had never spoken. He was 7 years old. And the next day, after using our preparation, I think it was this one they used, the next day, that child was talking. Or one 12 years old never tied his shoes, who's not tied his shoes. We have people with ADHD. Children born with ADHD are challenged because they can't focus. They grow up and become adults, and they are challenged. They can't keep a job. They may end up in and out of prison, all those kinds of things. And we're seeing that reverse. Of people who have addictions, every kind of addiction you can name, to whether it's food or eating or drugs, legal and otherwise. We had one young lady got in a car accident, got addicted to opiates for years, couldn't break that addiction until she started our technology. So there's a myriad of things that it can affect. Now let's talk about that, because I think that's the most profound kind of support we actually have, something that works. And it apparently works on everything that your body has to deal with, because it's making your body better at dealing with them. Okay?
Yes.
That's thing one. So what we've done to get this message out, we've created a website, okay, that you have that has the information on it about the products as a separate PDF for each one. We have a support system in which we have these health and wellness calls every Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S., and also Saturday at 9 p.m. We have a lot of people on internationally. You can join us on this call again at noon Eastern on the internet. There's an internet link that you get when you sign up with us, and you can get on. And we also have nutritionists. There's a nutritional counseling session that takes place an hour before our health and wellness call. And let me just say what the health and wellness calls are. Each one of these health and wellness calls, we take on a different health topic. You know, we talk about your immune system. We talk about, diabetes, high blood pressure, all the different health topics. And also we talk about pets. That's how we met you. You're in the pet space and everything. So we go over all of that. We also have this good picture of Bevan and his Dale. And we also have different support that you can get from our customer service people there. And you can join us for free. It costs you nothing to get involved with us or stay involved with us. That's a people product page on the website. You see Bevan's picture, and there's links there on that page that tell you all about it. If you scroll down a little bit, there are interviews I've done with people who have had a myriad of different health challenges, and they talk about how they've benefited from our technology. So we have all of those. And then on top of that, we are very open to having specific presentations or training sessions for different groups. So around this particular topic in Africa, we could have that kind of thing too. We do them sometimes on a Sunday afternoon. Works good for people in different time zones. If you're in an earlier time zone or whatnot, it won't be too late for you if we do it then or on Saturday. So those are kind of general things that we do. So you can affiliate with us for free. You get in the information loop. You can refer people, because again, there's no cost to be a part of our company or use our technology. And you can refer other people and be compensated for it. We have organizations that do that as fundraisers for their whatever their purpose is. And also there are people who want to reduce the cost of their product. They can do that. And also, obviously, it's a tremendous income opportunity for people, because we're not going to run out of people who have all those things that I mentioned and more that they like to do something about, right? Who would not like to be mentally, physically, and emotionally, healthier and more effective.
Amazing, Rodger. Amazing. Did you ever think it was going to grow into the way that it has? My experience is that it's just exploded in the last 12 to 18 months with certainly on the calls, and it's just fantastic. And I would encourage anybody to go to that website, MoreMito.com, and try the products for yourself. Go to the website, MoreMito.com. Make sure you let them know that Mick McQuillan sent you. Rodger, I appreciate you coming on. Look, I've taken about 30 minutes of your time, and it's a privilege to actually have you just come and talk to me, because I know you're busy. Like Rodger says, there's a call every Saturday, 5 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. 6 p.m. in Africa, and of course it's noon in the east coast of the United States. And then of course it goes on from there, 9 a.m. on the west coast. I think the next step is just to get your questions answered, and find out if it's going to be for you. I'm not saying it's going to be for you, but I think it's important just to get your questions answered, and see if there's an opportunity for you not just to help yourself, but to help other people in your community, and find other people who want to help other people, because that's what this is about. A good friend of mine, Heather King, who's from Zimbabwe, she always says, shine in your service to others. And this is a great opportunity to do that, to be able to shine in serving other people and helping make a difference in other people's lives. Now, look, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying check it out and let's find out if it's for you. Rodger, before you go, is there anything else you want to add?
I think we've been really blessed to have so many people start to find out about us. And as you pointed out, share the message with others, because it's a very unique technology. It's doing things that we've not seen before and that apparently the world needs. So we encourage anyone to, check it out. Let's see if we shouldn't work together.
Amazing. Rodger, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And listen, thank you for everybody watching. Reach out, get in touch. In fact, find out more about the call on Saturday, and I encourage you to be on that call. And not only you be on that call, but invite other people to that call. Share this video and let them know that we're coming and we're hoping to do something really big, and whether you're involved, there's going to be other people involved, and we're going to do something. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be massive, and it's going to make a real difference. So, Rodger, thank you so much. Great to see you. Nick. I'm going to get those NASA stories out of you one day. I'm going to get them out of you. I'm going to get that Pentagon story out of you. I'm excited about it. Right. Okay. Brilliant. See you later.
All righty.